Did you know that D&D can be utilized at home and in the classroom as a learning tool? Hi, I'm Scudder for Mike, and I've been teaching English as a second language for over a decade. And I want to share with you how D&D has transformed and vastly improved my students' communication, creativity, and cooperation skills. This video is intended for teachers and or parents who are interested in using D&D for an engaging learning experience in the classroom or at home. D&D is an amazing teaching tool. People of all ages love games of pretend, and unlike adults, kids have not yet developed a sense of embarrassment about make-believe. RPGs resonate with children, and the concept will take little to no explanation. They want to roleplay, and they want to play D&D as much as possible. Now, I've used several systems like Hero Kids for 5 to 6 year olds, No Thank You Evil for 7 to 9 year olds, and D&D 5e for kids who are older than that, but you should research and choose a system that best suits your play group. I start by describing the class choices that the children can make for their PCs. This usually goes over really well, and it sparks the children's interest. I then go into presenting options for what their PCs can do, but given some clear examples, the children will catch on pretty quickly. I'm often surprised with some of the decisions that they make, and I let them attempt anything that they can come up with. Remember, we're trying to hook them, and the stakes are low, so you can let them get away with some shenanigans. I try to keep their age and reading level in mind when using in-game vocabulary, but one thing I've found is that it's okay to throw in some challenging and new words. In the context of the game, the children will piece it together, or they'll ask for a definition, and then, frequently, they begin using these new words in their daily lives. So, I will try to keep a balance of complex and easy language in the game. My hope is to get them talking, and I do this by asking questions. I get them to practice describing situations in the first and third person. They discuss and debate amongst themselves, and most importantly, they begin to develop friendships with their peers at the table as they overcome obstacles as a team. And this is vital. They need to work together. I encourage them to work out a plan as a team. Everyone gets to offer an idea, and when they can't settle on a plan, they have to put it to a vote. They're tasked with appointing different leaders for different jobs. One person holds the treasure, one person is the torch holder, as many people that want to can be map makers, and the zookeeper, they take care of all the pets that the kids like to collect. Playing D&D is fun, but my goal is to tie the game into the lessons that we're learning in the classroom. I will have the NPCs use key vocabulary that we're studying in class, and it's okay if it's obvious. Often, I will design puzzles around jumbled up keywords that they need to spell correctly, or combination locks that have math equations presented on them, and the only way for them to move forward is to work together to find the solution. And just like that, math is fun. I get the dice into the kids' hands as much as possible, adding their modifiers, working with probabilities, greater than, less than, equal to. These are all concepts that are going to be frequently reviewed in the sessions. When playing Dungeons and Dragons in the classroom or at home with children, there are certain considerations that should be addressed before the game begins. The most important aspect of playing with children is their age. I've played D&D with children of all ages, as young as 5 and as old as 13. Each of these games were completely unique, and they each had their own obstacles and opportunities. For my youngest players, I discuss what a game of imagination entails. These things aren't real, and we don't need to fear the monsters that we play with in the game. I describe the enemies in funny and not particularly scary ways, and I make combat silly by describing the action as like bonking the bad guys on the head instead of stabbing them or cutting them. I want to maintain low consequences, and I often just have the monsters run away whenever they're defeated, rather than being outright killed. Now, older kids can handle more complex interactions, so I do introduce lasting consequences for their actions and more complex decisions that they can be faced with. Now, I have found that they can get pretty ruthless in how they treat the bad guys, but that's okay. It's fun for them, so I roll with it. A huge consideration for any DM is how many players can you handle at the table at one time. This is especially true with a table full of young people. If you're hosting for your kids and their friends, you can keep the group sizes smaller to help maintain game flow, but let's consider after-school clubs, youth groups, and the classroom. These venues, most likely, are going to have more players than you're going to feel comfortable with running for at one time. Ideally, you can train up future DMs, but we'll get to that later. Because year after year, my classrooms are filled with curious young players, and sometimes we have more than over a dozen kids at the game at one time. It's important that each kid gets a fair share of table focus, but I do need to limit the length of those sessions. That's a lot of players, and it needs to be short and punchy to keep them coming back for more. Kids can get raucous, and will have a more challenging time with self-moderating. They might behave in a way that frustrates or angers their peers, and it's very likely that they will still be learning social awareness, so arguments are a very real possibility. It's our responsibility as the adult at the table to maintain a fair and fun space for all the players. So, I use these interactions as learning opportunities. I give the young people a chance to pause the game, express themselves, and try to work out their differences. I have them reflect on their behavior, and I put the onus on them to take accountability for their actions and to fix their relationships at the table. Now, depending on the age group, I will adjust the complexity of the rules. With my youngest, they roll d6s and they compare who has the greater number, and that determines if they're successful in their attempts. With teenagers, I just play 5e as written, but regardless, I am transparent on how to play and make games. Every step of the way, I'm letting them name and influence different aspects of the game world in hopes that they feel like it's theirs, and eventually, they may start DMing for each other. Children can and do enjoy Dungeons & Dragons, and there are many ways we can use the game to teach them new vocabulary, critical thinking, and social skills, all while having tons of fun with the game that we all love. I discuss this and so much more over on X, so if you think I've earned it, please click on the link in the description to follow me over there. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.